The words that are meant to comfort often wound the deepest. In fact, grieving people have a list of things that they hate hearing, and I'm going to expose the biggest ones to help make sure that you avoid them. In this video, we're going to unpack what are the 7 most common phrases that people say to people who are grieving that actually cause more harm than good. We're going to explore why those statements and sayings are hurtful and harmful to grieving people. And last and most importantly, we're going to share some helpful alternative things you can say in place of those hurtful statements. Hey, I'm Kelly Nielsen, and having recovered from my own tremendous grief and loss, I created a proven faith-based, neuroscience-informed process that has helped hundreds of people recover from grief and loss. So let's dive in. First things first, let's go over the list of the 7 most problematic sayings that are very common in our culture and society that actually hurt people who are grieving instead of help them. Statement number 1, well, they're in a better place, or they're in heaven. If you're Christian faith, that's very common in the church. Oh, they're in heaven now, they're with Jesus, meaning that we shouldn't be sad about it. We're going to unpack in the later parts of the video, number 1, why it's hurtful, and number 2, things you can say instead of this statement, but this is the number 1, they're in a better place or they're in heaven. Seems well-meaning, but like I said, we'll unpack it a little bit further as we go on in the video. Statement number 2, well, at least you have another child, or if you lost a spouse, well, at least you'll find another husband, you'll find another wife. When you act like someone is just replaceable, or the fact that they have multiple children, so losing one child shouldn't be a big issue, that is incomprehensible. It's hard to believe that people still say this in culture, but it actually is said quite a bit. So that's the number 2. You can always get married again, or at least you have another child. Statement number 3, which again blows my mind that this is said, but it is said very common. So many people say, well, you'll never get over it. You'll just learn how to live with it. I remember very clearly, shortly after my son had passed away, I went to a church service looking for help, comfort, support. And I went down for prayer at the end of the service, and I asked for prayer. I explained that my son had just passed away. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after he had passed away. And the couple praying for me had also lost a child 27 years prior. And they shared with me how I was going to hurt for the rest of my life. That they said that day in that church service, the pain was as intense as the day that it happened. They told me I would never get over this pain. I would just learn to live with this. What an awful thing to say. What an awful thing to say. So please do not say that to grieving people. Like, you're just going to hurt forever. You're just going to learn to live with it. The number 4 thing not to say is, oh, I know exactly how you feel. We have such a need to want to connect with people and think, let them know that we are here for them, we see them, we understand them. But whenever we insert ourselves and then put in our own example, no matter what the example is, that is not a helpful thing. And that is actually a hurtful thing for the person who's grieving. Number 5 is the reverse of you'll never get over it. People will say, oh, that happened XYZ long ago. You should be over it by now. Do not say that. Everybody's grief timeline is individual. And saying that just makes them feel like they've fallen behind and that it's something that they should have checked off their list. So that's number 5, that you should be over it by now. Number 6 is at least they're not in pain anymore. For a lot of people who had someone with a terminal illness and they watched their person struggle and suffer, again, it might seem like a logical thing to say that we should find peace or solace in the fact that our loved one isn't in discomfort or pain anymore. But that is not comforting to the person who's grieving. And number 7, the thing that it seems really counterintuitive that this wouldn't be a helpful statement, but to say, oh, you're so strong, or to encourage someone, just be strong. That's not really helpful. I know, again, when I lost my son, people would come up to me all the time and say, Kelly, you're so strong. I don't know how you get out of bed in the morning. Like, if I were you, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. And again, it seems like a logical or even like an admiration that you have for the person, but we're going to unpack in this next section why that statement and all of these statements actually, why they're not helpful and why they could be hurtful. If you yourself are struggling with grief, or if you're looking for additional resources to help a friend or loved one, check out the link in the description for more resources about that. But since these phrases hurt so deeply, now we're going to unpack each phrase and why it is that it's hurtful to someone who's grieving. We're going to explore a little bit just why those comments can be unhelpful and hurting. Okay, number one, well, they're in a better place or they're in heaven. This is presumptuous on so many levels. You're presuming that you know that the person is in heaven. You're presuming that the person who's grieving believes in heaven and knows that they're there, and that would be some sort of comfort to them. And then lastly, I used to say this all the time because people would say to me, oh, well, your son's in heaven. And actually, I know that he's in heaven, but I live here, right? That's what I always used to say. Like, I understand he's in heaven, but I don't live there. I live here. And so this is a reoccurring theme that you're going to see throughout these comments, is that so many of our comments that we make are to make us feel better, but actually don't support the person who's grieving. The person who's grieving is going through torment. They're in turmoil. I was trying to find the right word there. And our person who's gone, you're right, they're no longer in pain, and God willing, they're in a better place. They're in heaven. But we are now contending with the pain and the anguish of them being missing from our lives. And so our comforting words need to be in help and support of the person who's grieving, not so much focused on the person who passed away and not focused on ourselves, but focused on the person who's grieving. So as I mentioned, towards the end of the video, we're going to talk about some helpful alternatives. But first, know that saying they're in a better place or they're in heaven, that is not helpful to the person who's grieving. Okay, so the next one, well, at least you have another child, or at least you can get married again. It feels silly to even unpack why this would be unhelpful, but let's just do it. Someone did say this to me actually one time. I was getting my hair cut, ironically, shortly after my son passed away. And I remember I was at this stage in my grief where it was all consuming. For me, like, it's all I could talk about. Like, it would just leak out my mouth. And I remember giving myself a pep talk when I went in to get a haircut. And I said, Kelly, do not tell this person that your child just died. This was I had never met the person before. It was a new person, a new haircut. And I remember giving myself a pep talk. Like, I wanted to just get a haircut and not talk about the grief, right? Like, I just wanted an hour of not talking about it. And I went in to get the haircut, and, we're making small talk. And she asked, how many children do you have? And that's a whole nother topic for a different video. I grappled with that question for a very long time before I found a place that I could land with how to answer it. So in this case, I told her about my daughter, Piper, and then I mentioned I had a son, Quentin, who had passed away. And she said, without missing a beat, she said, oh, well, at least you have another child. I only have one child. So if my child died, I would really be devastated. Again, this is 7 years later, and I still am like in shock that she said that. But we all come to issues from our own point of view, right? So she couldn't see my point of view. She was coming at it from her point of view. She only has one child. And if she lost her child, she would be devastated. And for some reason, she felt like I should be less devastated because I have another child, as if my son were like a spare pair of shoes in the closet. I'm horrified. So please, I know it might seem encouraging to tell people to find joy and solace and comfort in their other children, or if they lost a spouse, it may seem logical to say, oh, well, you can get married again. But understand that even if they have other children, and even if they get married again one day, that never replaces the person that they lost. And that doesn't just make everything better or go away. Again, like, I can see in hindsight how these might seem helpful, but hopefully you're getting a little bit of understanding why and how they're not helpful. Okay, let's talk about the whole you're never going to get over this plan. First of all, if you're saying that to someone, there's only two reasons that you're saying that. Either you have gone through grief and you have not been able to get over it, and so you're assuming that is the case for them, or you have not experienced grief, but what you have experienced from people around you and culture and society are only examples of people who did in fact never get over it and they're still suffering. In either case, I want to tell you that there is help and hope and healing available for people who are grieving. So please do not project your own understanding, either your own experience or your perceived experience of people around you. That'd be like telling someone that they're going to be sick for the rest of their life and they'll never recover. I want to encourage you, even if you believe that, do not say that to someone. Don't remove someone's hope for recovery. Don't tell them that this is something that they're going to always be living with and they're always going to be sad and always be broken. Please, I implore you. Don't say that to someone who's grieving. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, I know exactly how you feel. We don't want to say that. When you, again, you're putting the focus back on you. When someone's grieving and they come to you for help and you're trying to talk and encourage them, the focus needs to be on them and what you can do to say and support them. When you say, oh, I know exactly how you feel, you're not focusing on their experience, you're trying to interject your experience into it. And even if you've experienced something very similar, even if you've experienced a similar loss, maybe you're speaking to someone who lost a child and you also lost a child, and you can say, oh, I know exactly how you feel, I also lost a child. No, you don't know exactly how they feel, because their relationship with their child is different than your relationship with your child. The conditions and circumstances around their passing are different. Like, everything's different. So we can never truly understand how someone else feels. And so often people will use the most ridiculous comparisons. I literally had someone tell me 2 examples in my own life that I'll share. So one, I lost my son, my 20-year-old son, to a drug overdose. It was very sudden, it was very traumatic. And I spoke to somebody who said, oh, I know exactly how you feel. I lost my 84-year-old grandmother last year. I'm sorry, but that is not the same. That is not the same situation in any stretch of the imagination. So no, you don't know how I feel. And then the other one, which we get this a lot, is people who lose a pet. Now, I have a pet and I adore her. If something happened to my dog Gracie, I would be devastated. But I'm here to tell you, as someone who has lost a child, like, it is not the same, right? And I was speaking to a woman one time and sharing about my story, and she said, oh yeah, I had to put my dog down and my friend said it's just like losing a child. No, it's not. So the safest bet is to not compare, not say that we understand and insert any kind of situation, because the truth is, even if we had a very similar situation, we don't in fact know exactly how they feel. And us pretending that we do just minimizes their pain. Okay, the next one. Oh, well, it's been X amount of time, you should be over it by now. Again, it feels silly that I even have to unpack why this isn't helpful, but everyone's grief timeline, recovery timeline, is personal to them, just based on where they were at in life when the loss happened, based on how close they were to the person, based on so many different factors. And so trying to prescribe to someone that they should be over it by now is incredibly short-sighted. Another huge factor is how much help and support that they've had, and the right kind of help and support and structure to actually do the work to recover. I meet so many people, unfortunately, who are, 2 years, 3 years after the loss, and they haven't really progressed much in their healing. But that's largely because they haven't had examples of people who have healed around them, and they haven't had the right tools or the right skills to even know how to heal and recover. So let's not judge people, and let's certainly not try to pretend that we know when they should be healed or better. That'd be like telling someone who has an illness, like, oh, you've had that for that long, you should be better by now. Like, it's absurd, right? Like, we wouldn't say that in any other scenario. So why on earth would we say that to grieving people? Okay, I'm off my soapbox with that one. Okay, at least they're not in pain anymore. Again, there is a sense, my son struggled with addiction, and I will say there is a piece of, I'm thankful that he's not being tormented anymore. I'm thankful that he's not struggling with addiction. But that is not a source of comfort, especially in the beginning stages of grief. A lot of this stuff is layered and seasoned too with where people are at in their grief recovery. Because right now, in a place of healing, like, I am comforted by the fact that Quentin is in heaven. I am comforted by the fact that he's not in pain anymore. Like, all these things are true. But especially in the beginning, those concepts were just too painful for me to think about or hear or receive. Okay. So again, when we're trying to comfort someone who's grieving, our focus should be on them, and we should be trying to have statements that are going to tend to them and comfort them. Okay, and then the last one, either be strong or you are so strong. As I mentioned, everyone around me was saying that to me. And the thing that so many people kept saying is, I don't know how you get out of bed. And the reason why this isn't helpful or dangerous is, or why it is dangerous rather, is that if I would have listened to those people who told me, how do I get out of bed? If I would have paid attention to them and agreed with them, eventually I would have stopped getting out of bed, right? So many people were telling me that I was so strong, and how did I get out of bed every day? And that does two things. Number one, it can, like I said, if you listen to it it can make me not want to be strong and not get out of bed. The other thing it can do is can put this like pressure or expectation that the grieving person needs to be strong and needs to have it all together and needs to put on this brave face because people around them are expecting them to be strong. So these are why all these phrases can be hurtful and harmful to people who are grieving. So now that we looked at the what and the why don't we turn to what can we do instead? What are some helpful alternatives that we can say instead of these comments so that we can truly support people who are grieving and show up and be in their life? Okay, let me start back over. I'm going to go back over to the beginning. Instead of, I know they're in a better place or they're in heaven, you can say, I know how much you miss them and I'm here with you. Again, like acknowledge what they're feeling is that their person is gone or in heaven or in a better place and they're feeling that absence. And so for you, seeing and acknowledging, hey, I see how much you miss them. I acknowledge, I bear witness to how much you're missing them and I'm here with you. You're going to find, again, as we go through these statements, there's a reoccurring theme that we want to validate their experience. We want to bear witness to what their struggle is and let them know that we are here to support them. Okay, so instead of saying, well, at least you have, this, or at least you can get married again, we want to say like, you loved them tremendously and that is evident, right? And I'm here to walk this journey with you. Same with, well, get over it, or you should be over it. Just acknowledging that like grief is really hard. It can be very overwhelming, and just assuring them like, I'm here to listen. I'm here to support you. I'm here to walk this out with you, right? Letting them, reassure them of two things: that you see and validate their experience and that you are there to listen, see, and support them as they go through. Now, if instead of saying like, you'll never recover from grief, as we mentioned, I really want to encourage you to plant a seed of hope that even though grief is tremendously hard and painful, that there is hope for healing down the road and that you're there to help support and facilitate on whatever timeline that looks like for them, but that you're there to be a help and support in the direction of healing and recovery. It's never too soon to start planting seeds of hope that recovery is available and possible, but again, on their individual timeline, at their pace, and when they're ready. Okay, instead of saying, oh, I know exactly how you feel, XYZ happened, just admit that like, I don't know how you feel. I can't imagine how you feel, but I care about you and I want to learn. I want to learn how you're feeling. I want to hear about what this experience is like for you, and I want to be a help and support in whatever way makes the most sense for you. That's an excellent alternative to, oh, I know exactly how you feel. Okay. Instead of the, you should be over it right now, just encouraging and reminding people to give themselves grace, that healing takes time. Healing is absolutely possible, but it does take time. And so just encouraging them to take the time that they need, be patient and graceful with themselves. And you can be a great demonstration of that, to be patient and graceful while you're walking with them in healing. Instead of saying, oh, well, they're not in pain anymore, just saying the pain of losing someone is incredibly big. I see that, you're in pain. I acknowledge that this is really hurtful and really hard for you, and I'm here for you. And my favorite, just because so many people said this to me, oh, you're so strong. I think what I would have loved to have heard is like, you're handling this with such strength, but I want you to know like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to be broken. Like, you don't have to hold it all together for our sake, right? If you're in someone's life and you're trying to encourage them, let them know that they don't have to put on a brave face for you. They don't have to be strong and hold it all together. So I hope that unpacking these common phrases, and there's even more phrases, I just picked the top 7 phrases of what not to say. Hopefully you have a little bit of better understanding how and why some of those common sayings might be hurtful or harmful to people who are grieving. And most importantly, I've equipped you with alternative things that you can say that truly will be a help to someone who's grieving. So if words can cut deep in grief, imagine how something as simple as a haircut could be. In this next video here, I'm going to explain how hair can be a representation for your healing. Have you noticed that you see yourself differently when you're grieving, or maybe the people in your life that are grieving see themselves differently, or you see them differently? In this next video, we're going to unpack why that is. So check it out.